Hey everyone, Wonton back to bring another One Piece tournament match. This time we have King versus Film Kid. This is actually a deck that I've been trying out, and I actually got the idea from my friend. So thank you for that deck list, Killian. So he won the high roll, and so he's going to choose to go first because the film package does have a better curve going first and odd. And I do want to go first as well, just so I can play Island on curve. The mulligan guide for King is just like any of the older purple decks where it's Island or bust, and so you kind of just hard mulligan for Island. So luckily we do have the Island here. This deck is completely different when you do not have Island versus when you do have Island. Without Island, it is definitely a much harder game to play. So because we have the Island on curve here, and he didn't have a Phil Nami or an Usopp or any sort of smaller drop in the early turns, it means we're already pretty far ahead. And I'm going to counter out a little bit more aggressively than normal, just because I do want to get to the late game where I am healthy enough that I can just drop the 9 cost Kaidos or the 10 drop Kaidos. And so he drops his first big body here, Frankie, which is a sizable threat, but because he didn't drop anything earlier, it's not unmanageable. It's not too menacing of a play. So we're going to play the Magellan here and just try to mess with his curve here too. This is an important turn to do this because it does deny him the 7-drop Luffy. And I think on as a general rule, I think Magellan is just a great just play on curve character, since it does mess up your opponent's planning. And so you're gonna see the effect that Magellan has here. He has an immediate impact because if he's at 6 Dawn, if he was at 7 and he had a film Luffy in hand, he would be able to film Luffy into film Brook into film Nami, which would have been a devastating turn for us. But luckily with Magellan, he is forced to just play the Brook into the Nami, which is much more manageable. And I'm going to drop a Poly here, which is a fantastic card, especially in this matchup where I can ramp up by gaining a Dawn, and at the same time, if I have 8 or more Dawn up, we're able to pop a 4-drop or less, which is really good against film. We can just get rid of that Nami cleanly here. And because Poly does put us at 10 total Dawn, it does minus 1000 to all of his characters, which allows us our Magellan to just swing cleanly into Frankie without any additional Dawn. But he does Paradise Waterfall him just to protect him. He restands him, so we can't swing into him again. Then we just take a pot shot, a 5k swing at his leader, which he does take. I was expecting him to counter there. We leave the Dawn up here so that we're able to use some of Purple's strong event counters to protect ourselves and keep our life total healthy for the following turns. So I'm going to counter that again. And then I'm going to use the Judgment of Hell to minus 3000 to his Frankie and to his leader. It's really good against Kid, especially because of his double attack. You pretty much nullify his ability to double attack this turn with that card. And I think Judgment of Hell is probably just one of the best events out there right now. And he did have the starter Luffy in hand, and so he just uses to cheat out Brook. We're very happy here that he did not get the chance to use it last turn. So I am planning to 9-drop Kaido here, and so before we play him, we do have to swing first to utilize our leader ability, because of course Kaido does minus our Dawn. So again, you can see King's leader ability putting in work here because his Luffy blocker is no longer at 7k, which is really important because it means he doesn't get free blocks on Poly or Magellan. And that is also why he doesn't just block that 5k swing from our leader with Luffy, because Paulie and Magellan can swing into him, and he will be forced to expend resources just to protect them. So he's gonna counter the attacks here, and then we're gonna drop the original Big Daddy here. We're gonna have 9-drop Kaido, who is going to just KO his Frankie, and then we're going to swing into his leader and just really start applying the pressure here and forcing lethal next turn if he doesn't do anything. So he's going to start off with just a 5k swing at our leader. At this point, whenever the opponent has 10 active Dawn up and they just quickly swing neutral with their characters and leader, it pretty much means some sort of 10 drop is coming down. And at this point, I was thinking that Doflamingo was going to come down soon, especially since he just swung with Blocker Luffy right there. And of course, here he is, and he's just gonna freeze our 3 characters on the board. And I think Doflamingo is such a great card. He is very unique. He's great for situations like this where you're both still fighting for the board, and in this case, he is staring down lethal if he doesn't deal with my board here, and Doflamingo essentially buys him a turn and also contributes as a 10k body on the board. So first we're just going to swing 6 into his leader, and just to see how he reacts. And he does get rid of 2 1k counters, so that does tell us he doesn't have a 2k counter in hand, or at least one 2k counter he's not willing to let go of. Then we're just going to drop the Minokoala as a blocker here just for some protection, and potentially as an additional attacker the next turn. I found out during this game, as I was reading this card in my hand, that his secondary effect doesn't actually work with King, so that was kind of an error during deck building. I was thinking more like I could, in a pinch, I could drop Sadie, the 2k counter Sadie, into a Minokoala just for some added tempo or board pressure, and I didn't even consider that maybe his secondary effect doesn't work on King. So he's gonna test the waters as well. He's gonna swing 6, and we're just gonna debate about how we are going to spend this Judgment of Hell. So I was just opt to use it here once again on his leader as well to prevent him from double swinging. Then we're going to just Blast Breath away that other 7k swing from his blocker Luffy, and we're going to save this Minokoala to block that Doflamingo. I think the last thing I wanted to see here was another Doflamingo being dropped. And he did tell me after the game he did have it in his hand, but I do appreciate that he may have been worried that I could just end him with the koala and my leader. And so he is probably trying to just go for game here and hoping that I don't have any event counters in my hand to stop his attacks. So now he just needs to see what the strongest defensive play he can make here is, and it's just going to be putting up one more blocker Luffy, and I guess just dropping the Nami because of May as well. She doesn't have a counter in hand anyways, and it pretty much seals the game for him if he survives this turn. So here we're not looking to clear board. We do have 4 swings, and he is at 1 life. He only has 1 blocker up, so this should just be game, even with the 2 active Dawn and 2 cards in his hand. So we're going to attach 2 to Paulie and swing 8k, although he could just counter that out with 1 4k, so maybe 7k was a better swing here. I was just opting for the strongest attacks in general we have, which in this case would have been an 8k swing by Paulie, then 2 9k swings with Magellan and King, and then finished off by a 10k swing by Kaido. So he opts to take that attack. Then we're going to swing once again with 9k to his leader, which he is going to have to block her out of, or use a 4K event to counter, plus another counter in his hand. So of course he's going to block that out. Then we're going to swing 9K with our leader, and then he's just going to have nothing left in his hand. So I ended up finishing second at this tournament with this King deck, and I had a lot of fun with it. Hopefully you guys do as well. And as always, the deck list is down in the description below. So that's it for me, everyone. Thanks for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this type of content. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.